So, yeah, we're live. So let's rock and roll.
Okay, well, fantastic. That's a great way to kick this off, Tiffany. We are in fact live. We are in fact doing this. This is happening,
We're doing.
and yeah, and so it's great to see everyone here tonight. Welcome to our winter stations, Pecha Kucha. My name is Brad. I'm the city councilor here in Beaches, East York, and I am joined by my very good friend and fellow East Ender, Tiffany Pratt. Tiffany, how you doing?
I am really pumped to be here because we have been waiting so long for this to happen. And I know, like me, we've been really invested in art this year, giving people exciting things to look at and interact with. So I know you are the same as I am. We're really happy it's actually happening.
It's a story of resilience, and we're going to touch on that. And
Yes.
In a year where it's never been more important to get outside, stretch the legs, both for our physical health, our mental health, take in some fantastic public art. That is what this has always been about. And, arguably more important now than ever. This is a story of resilience. You're going to hear from the project team. You're going to hear from the artists. We've got a great lineup tonight. And so I'm thrilled that everyone's on the line for the first time ever in our 7 years of winter stations. We are doing this Pecha Kucha evening live and online. We're doing it virtually, which is, it cuts both ways. In some respects, I think Tiffany and I and everyone would love to be at the Fox Theater on Queen Street or one of our fantastic East End venues. But at the same time, being online, we can open this up to the whole city. We can open it up to the province, to the country, and I know we've got folks tuning in from around the world. So that's pretty cool too. As I was saying, this is the 7th year. Oh, great! Hey, look at that. There's a slide, and that's a photo of me and a photo of Tiffany. Tiffany looks fantastic. I can only apologize on my end there, but
listen, Brad, we've all seen this picture of you so many times on our lawns. It's a beloved shot.
I only have one. Yeah, it's the only one.
It's a beloved shot.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. So the jury co-chairs, that is us. We will be guiding you through the evening tonight. And what's so great about this is Winter Stations, as folks know, this was a design competition that was really focused on the premise of accessibility, making it so that we could have, really artists from around the world bring that art to our East End community, do it in a way that responds to the challenges and the dynamic of a waterfront community in the wintertime, a Canadian landscape, and really challenge us to sort of think about what the beach is. Woodbine Beach in particular, the lifeguard stations, that's obviously top of mind during the summer. When it's hot out, we get tens of thousands of people down there in a normal year. But this challenges us to think about what is a landscape that's very unique in the wintertime and how the art interacts with that. And I know for, some of our founders, Raw Design Firm, Roland Romkoff, accessibility of design competition for artists, for students, for people around the world was always top of mind. So when Raw got together with Ferris and Associates and Curio, they wanted to give Torontonians something that really gave them a chance to engage in a tactile, physical way with art in a new and unexpected environment. And 7 years later, this has become something that is certainly symbolic here in Toronto, one of the most sort of Instagrammed, festivals around. I know that's always top of mind with Tiffany when we're in doing the jurying. She's always like, how's this going to look on Instagram? And so you get some great images, and now it's built a presence around the world. So for me, in addition to the work of the artists and the designers, building something special here in the East End, that's what's most important. It's our moment to celebrate this community, the folks who get things done, the doers, the people who put their hand up and say, hey, how can I help? The change makers. That's what makes this happen, a never give up attitude. And that has certainly been tested this year. We'll talk a little bit about that. And those are the leaders from the beach where our winter stations would normally happen. Ted Merrick, Roland Komoff, as I mentioned off the top, Aaron Hendershot, Lisa Rochon, Tiffany Pratt, of course, and many others. They've built this from the ground up. And, lastly, I'll just say, this year, Winter Stations has pulled off another incredible feat. it's getting through a year now, really like 15, 16 months, like nothing we've ever seen before. We don't want to talk a whole lot about COVID, but the reality is global pandemic, overcoming everything that comes with that to make sure that this event happens in some capacity. That's a huge accomplishment. My sincere gratitude to everyone, to the artists, to the jurors, for the community, folks at the city staff, and our partners who made this happen. Chapeau, kudos to you. We're very, very grateful. And hey, what is it today? April 21st, a fresh blanket of snow on the ground this morning. So, it's perfect. Spring stations, but also winter stations. It's official. It's happening, even if we are here in April. So our competition design portions had to shift in many ways. The jurying went virtual. We can talk a little bit about that, but we found a way to deliver these exhibits in a safe and responsible way that's still going to get everybody out there, seeing the art, hearing from the artists. It's going to be fantastic, and that's what tonight's all about. So I'm going to wrap by asking everyone to keep an eye out for the calendar of events, which will be coming later, and more details on how we're going to be siting and locating these winter stations. But for now, I'm going to flip it over to Tiffany. She's got some good stuff for us too. So Tiffany, over to you.
Brad, you're always so eloquent, and I love how inclusive you are, because as you said, there are always, like, here you are at the jury, so many people it takes to pull something like this off, and there's been so much patience required even with people that you do not see on the screen. So this year's competition received over 400 submissions. So you can imagine for creative people what that feels like. And they're from all over the world. And tonight you're going to hear from some of these winners about their incredible art installations. For someone like myself, this is the best part. And the theme this year is called Refuge. So keep that in mind when you see the things that are going to be popping in front of the screen. This year's jury actually was hilarious. John Tory was there and made fun of my living room because it was all pink. Do you remember that, Brad?
Yeah, always got a keen eye for the design things at our mayor, John Tory.
So our mayor was there, Crystal Koo was there, Lisa Rochon, Jackie Comrie, you're seeing all these names on the screen, Norm Lee, and Evan Paralekos. Thank you so much, guys. Having all of us together, that was a super long afternoon, but we went through all the submissions with a fine-tooth comb, and all of us, thank you for your time, because we wouldn't be here right now if you didn't give us that beautiful, your point of view. It's amazing. So back in December when we were doing this, we were going through it, and the big thing this year was materiality, feasibility, creativity, and we're really looking for stories and visions behind the theme Refuge. So bear that in mind when you see what we selected. We announced 4 winners in January, and most of them were in different time zones. So when you're watching the presentation today, you're going to bear in mind that they're from Europe or Asia, so they've been pre-recorded for us. We also have a team from Sheridan, this year's higher education partner. So we've got some live Toronto folks here joining in. And I know that Roland and Dakota and Yasmin from Raw Design, they've done some incredible new things on behalf of winter stations this year. They're the founding team, and we love you. So take it away.
Okay. Hi, thanks Tiffany and Brad for an excellent introduction to the whole program. I'm Roland Kolthoff of Raw Design and one of the founders of Winter Stations. We're pleased to have our 7th year coming up here. We founded Winter Stations as an opportunity for new artists and designers worldwide to experiment and gain exposure, and also to bring people down to enjoy the beach in winter, which is an inspiring, as Brad said, but usually underappreciated landscape. And this year, for reasons obviously beyond our control, it's not on the beach and it's not in winter, although today is winter for a change. But we've rolled with the times, and we'd like to thank our partners at the city and our colleagues in the Parks Department in particular, our sponsors, and all the artists for their patience and understanding on this. We're happy to announce Winter Stations now as Spring Stations, and invite you to visit the installations as a great way for you to safely enjoy the outdoors. Dakota, over to you.
Great. So this year's calendar of events will look a little different. Everyone's been adapting this year. So we'll start off from May 21st to late June with spring stations at the Distillery District with Art de Blob, the Epitonium, and From Small Beginnings on display. And then we'll also have at the same time spring stations at 33 Parliament displaying Throbber. Later this year, we'll have summer stations at the Beach Village BIA with Arc de Blob on display in July, and the Sheridan College station Embrace. Both of these stations, their dates and location will be confirmed later. So hopefully as the province of Ontario safely reopens next month, fingers crossed, we will be able to have a better idea of safely exhibiting. So follow updates on our winterstations.com website and our social media. Our gratitude goes out to the Distillery District, the Beach Village BIA, and Greywood Development for providing these initial venues to host these installations. As the exhibits debut, we may pursue additional venues throughout the year, giving Torontonians as much opportunity to safely visit the stations. And Yasmin will go into their sponsors.
Winter Stations is made possible every year through the support of our sponsors who value community and public art. So I would like to take a moment to recognize all the wonderful sponsors who supported Winter Stations this year and made it possible. This list includes the Distillery District, Greywood, the Ontario Association of Architects, Parallax, Westdale Properties, Republic, Demarov Group, Urban Capital, RioCan, Harlow Capital, Context, Minto Communities, and Bousfields. A big thank you to Sally Tabachi and Mevo for the Winter Stations rebranding this year, as well as our new website. And to Micropro Sienna, who sponsored a large portion of the materials for one of our installations this year from Small Beginnings. Finally, I'd like to thank East End Arts and Beach Village BIA, as well as our fabrication team at Annex. Winter Stations would not have been possible without your continued efforts and support. The beach will always be our home, and we have every intention of returning on Family Day in 2022, hopefully. Now I'd like to welcome Elena Price, the General Manager at the Distillery Historic District, who is one of our venue partners this year.
Thank you, Dakota. I just wanted to start by saying on behalf of Cityscape and Dream, we're honored to be part of the Winter Stations, which is one of the city's most beloved events. The Distillery District is a National Historic Landmark, and it's internationally acclaimed tourist and retail destination. Most people are familiar with the distillery because of the Toronto Christmas Market, which is one of the top 10 markets in the world, Christmas markets. However, we also activate our site throughout the year to support arts, culture, music, and the imagination. When we were approached to host the 2021 Winter Stations, it seemed like a really good fit. Our ownership agreed it was a great opportunity to support artists as well as activate our site during the winter season. Well, that was the plan before the big December lockdown, but we will continue to work with public health and the organization, so as soon as they say go, we're ready to install. Due to the circumstances in play this year and the delays, as you heard, the organization committee has decided to rebrand Winter Stations to Spring Stations. So we're very happy to host Spring Stations at the distillery. The Spring Stations will include 3 of the amazing winning designs, and we chose designs specifically that would best fit with our architecture, our community, and the patrons at the distillery. Also, due to the pandemic restrictions, we wanted the installations on site to lend to social distancing, to limit touch, and to ensure the utmost public safety. So we are glad to welcome the Epitonium, Arc de Blob, and From Small Beginnings, which will be installed along Trinity Street and Griswold Lane for open public viewings. With the ongoing restrictions, we'll continue to work with the organization to find the right time to install these 3 winning sculptures. Tentatively, we're looking at May 21st, as long as the stay-at-home order is lifted. Thank you to everyone involved for allowing the Distillery District, Cityscape, and Dream to be part of Winter Stations 2021.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that, Alina. And thank you to the Distillery District for stepping up in what's been a very challenging year. We're all excited to push west for this year to check out the spring stations. Of course, we'll have some stuff on Queen Street with Beach Village BIA as well, but very much looking forward to making the journey down to the distillery to see all of this stuff up and running. And thanks for stepping up in a really difficult moment. So here we go, onwards. Tiffany and I are going to take you through the lineup tonight of our winning artists and designs. This is the exciting stuff where you get to hear from the artists themselves about what they were thinking, what the design philosophy was, and most importantly, what they're bringing to the East End and our community for us to see this summer, this spring. So up first, we have all the way from Iran. I'd like to introduce the team behind the Epitonium. Very exciting proposal. I'm glad that this one was selected. It looks spectacular. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to the team from the Epitonium.
Hello, my name is Shahed Yengiabat. I'm an architect and contractor. We are a group of freelance visual artists from Iran. We work primarily in installation.
Hello, I'm Elahem Yengiabad. I'm an artist. And being one of the winners of this competition makes us so happy.
Hi everybody, my name is Alemi Yengiabadi. My work is based in conceptual art and shows some attributes of Middle Eastern art, culture, stories, and symbols.
For the artist, communication with nature remains the most essential condition. The artist is human, himself nature, part of nature with a natural space. Paul Klee. Throughout history, humankind has always strived to learn and to be inspired by the nature in order to engage in new experiences and provide a better and more efficient life for themselves and other beings. In fact, nature is the source of inspiration for architects, artists, inventors, and scientists. Nature is humankind's origin and destination. In other words, we have always been a part of it. Nature has always been ubiquitous, unclassifiable, and a model for human creativity. Building is a necessity for human beings, and one of the first needs of early man was to have a shelter. From the past to the present, the elements of nature have played an important role in the formation of the artificial environment. And this artificial and handmade environment is also effective in the formation of human personality, behavior, and functional system. Thus, the relationship between humankind and nature is constantly evolving. Nature includes not only the external environments, such as clouds, trees, the sea, the mountains, and animals, but also buildings, components, and building materials. By building structures with forms familiar to humans in nature, in addition to creating two-dimensional graphics, also architecture has thickness, depth, and volume. Therefore, architecture can complement nature and be a part of it. We first studied about shelters that exist naturally or are built by animals and insects, and we saw some very beautiful specimens. And finally, we chose Epitonium. We were inspired by Epitonium to create a beautiful and functional landscape. The creation of this idea causes a natural shelter to become a refuge. Elements which were very important to us while designing this project include space, the third dimension, spirit, softness, beauty, balance between form and function, harmony, an adaptation with the environment and surroundings, and connection with the nature. In this piece, in addition to creating a sense of familiarity, modeling the nature, and creating visual beauty, form is subordinate to function, which creates a kind of environmental harmony in the structure and form. This structure is like a puzzle that is made by placing wooden pieces next to each other. To make this structure, wooden sheets are cut in the workshop using a CNC machine. Then the cut parts are assembled at the installation site, and finally, it is painted white. The material of this structure is wood and can be easily recycled.
I love seeing how the artist looks at something like the theme refuge and how their brains work. And this video is just a perfect example of that. And that's why materiality is such a big consideration for us when we're considering which of these installations is going to be put forward. A lot of thought was put into that, and I love it. Next, we're going to hear from a team from the UK. It's an installation called From Small Beginnings, and you're going to see much of the same sort of concept here.
Hello from the UK. Thank you to everyone who's tuned into this evening's presentations. We're absolutely gutted to not be there in person. However, we hope everyone is having a great evening, and those who get to experience this year's winter stations in person enjoy them as much as we have being involved with the process.
We are Jack and Charlie Lever, two emerging designers and brothers living in London. We grew up in rural Norfolk, a particularly natural part of the UK, before leaving to study architecture in London and Sheffield respectively.
Having diverged from the world of traditional architecture, I now work as a set designer within the UK film industry. Alongside this, I retain an avid curiosity in temporary architecture, particularly multifunctional and interactive spaces. Previous competition wins have seen Caravana and stage designs come to realisation at Latitude and Shuffle festivals, respectively. As a side note, I can only apologise for my partial role in bringing cats into the world.
I work as a Part 1 architectural assistant at the Asif Khan studio in East London, having graduated from the University of Sheffield last summer. So far in my time at the studio, I've worked on a range of projects from a new cultural centre in the city of Almaty in Kazakhstan to smaller projects such as the Architecture for Dogs exhibition hosted at the Japan House in London last year.
This year's theme was a thought-provoking one. It's been an extraordinary 12 months where many people have indeed needed both physical and mental respite from the world around us. We set about thinking about what this theme meant to us at the time. Where would two rural lads look to seek refuge now we both reside in an urban environment?
For us, the answer was an instinctive one, that being a return to the natural world. The world over, people have followed suit. Thus, the great outdoors has been where many have found solace, perhaps unexpectedly so, over the past 12 months. Great enjoyment has been found in returning to these more holistic roots, and we think people have started to re-evaluate the importance of nature within their modern lives. From Small Beginnings hopes to seize upon this movement, whilst giving platform and space to embrace new opportunities ahead.
Through Shellsbury, a future forest, the installation allows visitors to seek refuge from harsher elements, whilst both encountering strangers from a safe distance or simply enjoying a place for quiet reflection.
Symbolic of opportunities that rise from the challenging periods such as the year gone by, the seedlings are the real highlight of the installation. We hope that they can be replanted locally upon the closure of the exhibit, providing a lasting and sustainable legacy for our entry.
Having spent a year in Japan, Charlie's been heavily inspired by Japanese construction techniques, one of which is yakisugi. Whilst the heat treating was not possible within our design, we took visual cues from the technique and staying the timber instead. It's allowed for a powerful metaphor when set in contrast to the lively seedlings.
Upon entering the seating and standing areas of the installation, the brighter untreated interior is revealed. It seemed right that this installation would be made from natural materials where possible, particularly one which was native to Canada. From afar, the giant Canadian forest gave us great inspiration, and a perfect bridge between our concept and the country it was to be built in.
As we're sure you experienced yourself, 2020 redefined what we considered togetherness to be. Far gone was the requirement of physical encounter in order to share an experience and create a memory. As the year progressed, togetherness was found in our shared and collective responsibility for those around us and how we all pulled together, even whilst kept apart. This is something we've tried to represent spatially within Small Beginnings.
The installation harnesses the feeling of coming together and sharing in the emotions that arise from a time heavy with reflection. The 4 entrance points allow users to enjoy the installation, whether sitting or standing, at a safe distance from other visitors. With the other users being visible but just out of reach, you are entered into a shared moment of comfort and solace, whilst also pondering on future opportunities.
Once again, thank you for taking the time to watch our presentation. We'd also like to extend our gratitude to everyone involved with Winter Stations over in Toronto. That's Vakis, Dakota, Yasmin, Alex and Gary for making this all happen, as well as the huge timber donation from MicroPro Sienna. We hope everyone is staying safe in these testing times and you can all enjoy from small beginnings before long.
How cool is that? I love having the artists on and hearing from them. And as you said, understanding the rationale. It's actually like, to be honest with folks, it's quite a bit more than what we get when we're going through hundreds and hundreds of submissions. How many do we have this year, Tiffany?
400.
Like 400. Yeah. So, admittedly, we don't get that level of depth. We don't get a Pecha Kucha from everyone. So it's so cool to hear the inspiration, both across the pond and then drawing on the Canadian wilderness and the materiality, and also some fun facts. They brought cats to the main stage of movie for us. So it's great. Fun facts. We wouldn't have known that. So before we go a little bit further, I want to give a moment to acknowledge and turn the floor over to some fantastic partners who really have been seminal in this from day one. And that is, of course, the Beach Village BIA and East End Arts. Just very quickly, yeah. What up? Way to go. Both of these organizations have been longtime supporters of Winter Stations and the beaches and waterfront community over the years, and really integral to the vibrancy that we all love and enjoy here in the East End. Special shout out to Beach Village BIA. They're one of the best BIAs in the city. I've been working with all of them over the course of the pandemic as our main streets and small businesses have really, really been hit hard. And the folks at the Beach Village BIA have done a tremendous job rallying, responding on Queen Street, making sure everyone has reasons to go out and shop at our local businesses. They've been on that. And this has certainly been the most challenging time for our small businesses here in the city. So BIAs across all of Toronto and Ontario and really around the world right now, small businesses are hurting, and appreciate everyone stepping up and helping out. And the same goes to be said for East End Arts. When it comes to supporting arts and culture in the East End in a year where we are all looking for hope and energy and inspiration, Shayna and her team have stepped up in incredible ways to support artists through the worst of the pandemic, finding new ways to bring programming when we've lived our lives in this sort of insular lockdown ways. They've been out there and keeping us entertained and inspired. So with that, let's turn it over to them. Please welcome Paul Bieksa, the Executive Director of the Beach Village BIA, and Shayna Hillman, Executive Director of East End Arts. Turn it over to you.
Thanks, Brad. As Brad mentioned, I'm Paul Bieksa, and I'm happy to be here from the Beach Village BIA at this wonderful Winter Stations Pecha Kucha. This is my first year representing the BIA, but the Beach Village has participated and supported Winter Stations since its inception. Of course, a big thank you to everyone involved for all the hard work and perseverance to make sure this happened. Art has always been an important aspect of our BIA and surrounding beaches community. We're always excited to see the lifeguard stations transform into beautiful pieces, contrasting a seasonally stark backdrop. We're truly missing it on the beach this year, especially with these amazing winning designs. However, we're still hopeful and eager to see Arc de Blob in our neighborhood. Unfortunately, I can't speak to any programming, a date, or location, but the silver lining for us is we get to set a world record. The Winter Station received the most daylight hours in history. You can fact check me. And as a representative of the business community, I can tell you we're all about maximizing visibility, and we couldn't be happier with the Winter Station getting summer sunlight. I'm looking forward to hearing more about these artists' unique mixed reality features that they've incorporated into their design. But first, I'd like to turn it over to Shayna Hillman from East End Arts. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Paul. So I'm Shayna from East End Arts. We're the East End's friendly local art service organization. We've worked with the Beach Village BIA and Winter Stations for the past 3 years, creating auxiliary programming to complement the stations and allow people to get deeper into the work and the annual themes. I think we can safely say the past 13 months have been like no other. I know as an organization, we've had to pivot our programming so many times. I'm beginning to feel a bit dizzy. So Vaki, team, we know where you've been, and this is a tremendous achievement against so many odds. Thankfully, there's hope on the horizon. There's more vaccines rolling out, but we continue to be mindful of the ways we all need to change and adjust in the new post-COVID world. At East End Arts, we've acknowledged that even when we're through this, we're going to continue working in a hybrid in-person and digital way. And as such, we need to change the way we work, where we work, and how we design our programs. This has meant embracing outdoor activities and creating digital programs that complement and enhance public art and installations. For the 2021 spring stations, we'll be bringing back the wildly popular photo contest, so get your phones and cameras ready. We'll also be inviting you into the behind the scenes with the artists, designers, and the people who've created these amazing installations with a series of studio tours on Instagram Live. And finally, we're working on a curated playlist you can listen to while you explore the stations. We can't wait for 2022 when Winter Stations returns to the beach, and for later this summer when Arctic Blob comes to the Beach Village BIA. We hope to see you there, either in person with members of your own household and socially distanced, of course, or online exploring these fantastic entries. Now I get to live out one of my childhood fantasies of being a newscaster and say, now back to you, Tiffany.
Shayna, Paul, thank you so much, because you really triumph design and beautiful, incredible things, and you're championing worldly, incredible art. And I'm a big East End art fan, so I love you. Thank you. And now we're going to keep the ball rolling. This one makes me really excited because I hand selected. I have to admit to hand selecting this one.
Yeah, this was your pick.
This was my baby. This is the I Heart Blob team in Austria and the UK. I just fell in love with this, Brad. You remember the whole thing, but I love these guys. I think this Arc de Blob is going to be very happy making, and just like Shayna said, get out your phones, because this is going to be a social media showstopper. So, okay, Arc de Blob, love you. Let's do this.
We are I Heart Blob. My name is Ben James, and I'm joined by Sean McCallum and Sasha Belitskaya, and together we started this studio because we are fascinated by the intersection of technology and architecture. We started our studio by designing, rendering, and posting one architecture object to social media every day, alongside a short piece of theoretical and conceptual text that was meant to ignite and provoke conversation. Well, that one object became 10 objects, then 100 objects, and eventually 1,000 objects. And with each new object we developed, we were able to explore new architectural qualities in a playful way. And at some point, we had so many objects, they began coexisting in their own world, and then even in our world as augmented reality. So our blobs became scattered abroad, living as digital objects in LA, London, Glasgow, Hong Kong, Iceland, Estonia, Vienna, and Toronto, amongst others. And even traveling with us, as we used our own bodies for AR augmentation. It was the result of these strange, speculative design experiments that we began to understand that architecture, space, and inhabitant is a negotiation between physical and digital worlds. And thus our primary tool became AR, acting as a liminal scanner between these realities. We began taking on projects, exhibitions, and publications in which we can create both physical entities and digital extensions, juxtapositions, and complements to them, such as this digital Baroque pavilion in Vancouver. Or even last year's Winter Stations Pavilion, where we used these ideas to play with the contrast between soft, pliable, and tactile materiality with a digital sense of place and community.
We have even applied this concept to our own print publications as a way to integrate new media that can be updated and interacted with, allowing us to create an ever-growing and evolving form of narrative. We also believe these concepts and the changing role of the architect are important within academia and pedagogy. As a studio, we've been teaching a new generation of architects to engage with technology in ways that will expand the architect's skill set, bringing forward ideas of mixed realities and ultimately shaping the future of the discipline and the agency of the architect. We need to move away from ideas of a master builder to a more inclusive role as a spatial designer within both physical and digital forms. Because we fundamentally believe for architecture to remain relevant, we must be able to push our spatial and formal ideas into new media. One example of this is our design of a virtual cinema commissioned by the Vienna Design Week last year. For the past year, the whole world rethought the value of the digital space. For this project, we designed a digital space for a Vienna Design Week event, where people were able to gather in one space together, discuss concepts, and interact with each other. So whether we work with new understandings of space, as was done here for an AR exhibition at the Magazine Gallery in Vienna, or with new forms of representation, as we have done through real-time rendering and game engines for this film, which is currently on tour of more than 160 Austrian embassies worldwide as part of Ars Electronica.
And what is amazing for us about Arc de Blob is that it allows us to put these ideas into practice as a mixed reality architecture, combining both physical and augmented components, where you will be able to access additional content at a safe distance or visit the work in your own home through augmented reality. The Arc is an architectural default. We are intentionally trying to reposition the perception of this stoic and archaic architectural symbol through color and digital defaults like the flattened cylinders, cubes, and hearts. Its colorful patterned skin is reminiscent of classical architecture and creates a warm, inviting landmark within the cold winter landscape. It is designed as 3 discrete arches, which act as portals for machine vision to enable AR experiences, which allow visitors to escape and go beyond the physical constraints of the project. We're aiming here to combine AR, color, and form to develop a new architectural landmark, which will bring happiness to those who inhabit, create new interactions with architecture, and create a new form or method of construction. The CNC cut plywood on top of the timber frame not only acts as an efficient construction method, but enables key data points of recognition for the machine vision, which allows the creation of these virtual refuges. We worked with AnnexWorks to integrate augmented reality within the construction process, where social media AR filters were capable of aligning each piece of ornamentation, meaning the structure could be put together with an iPhone. The Arc is made up of a selection of archways, portals of refuge, through digital interface with AR. Each door, designed through digital defaults, expands curiosity and will open to reveal digital refuge beyond, visible through the engaging augmented reality application. So, to make our project Art to Blob as safely accessible and visible across the world, we've made our own web-based augmented reality filter, which allows anyone who scans this QR code here to visualize the installation within their own home. We know that in these difficult times that there are barriers to visiting public art and architecture, but through this web-based application, everyone can experience the pavilion in their own time wherever they want.
Amazing. I love it. I think Tiffany had a good read on this being one that we needed to have this year. It looks fantastic. I actually just got a message there from our friend of Winter Stations, Marietta Fox. She is very excited to see Art de Blob. We want to see it on Queen Street. Marietta had done a ton of programming with Winter Stations in the past. She was telling me so excited to see this warm up the beach this year. And I think, you know, all the colors and energy around that, that's certainly the intent with the design. Just beautiful. Going on with the color theme, this is another bright one, always something we're looking for in Winter Stations. We have Throbber. I have it in full caps in my notes here. Throbber. I don't know if that's anything with the enunciation, if I could accentuate it anymore, but there you go. Full caps on the screen. The team's coming all the way from Germany. So I will turn it over to Team Throbber. Here we go.
Okay. Hi there. I'm Alexandra.
I'm Jorel.
Together we are an artist couple from Hamburg. We are called Heid und Gries. And first of all, we really would like to thank you and say how super excited we are that we won this competition for the second time. And when we got the message that we won again, our reaction was something like that. Okay, you see, we were super, super, super excited. But now we would like to tell you something about why the topic of refuge was also a topic for us last year. We are now standing in front of our old production site we were working in for 2 years. You can show you. So we think it's a topic like in many other bigger cities, that there's a problem for people who are not organized in a huge company to find affordable workspaces, not only for living, also for work. And therefore we last year we built a kind of cooperative with 60 other people. Together we are looking together to find a new bigger space like this for a longer time. And 2 weeks before we really had to leave because this happened, we found another place for 2 years. We show you. Okay guys, this was just a little insight into our personal bubble and working situation, and we wish we could be with you, and yeah, maybe next year, third time, we are going to be with you again. This would be awesome. But until then, we are going to wait.
This is a throbber.
Hello again. Okay, you may have an idea now which design we created. We now would like to share with you our working process and how we got to this design called Throbber. When we begin a new project on a specific topic, we start with discussions on what each one of us already knows and how we are connected with it. And of course, we ask the internet.
So we started to check the reasons for people seek for refuge, and as you all know, there are so many.
Therefore, the architecture of refuges are as diverse as the people and their reasons. So we did not want to pick one of them. We decided that we would like to show and demonstrate the diversity of reasons equally, because every one of us, no matter where we live and under what circumstances, we all may need a refuge someday. So our first step to come to a design was to search for a symbol, and that symbol was very easy to find.
The rainbow flag is considered as the sign of tolerance and acceptance, diversity of life forms, hope and longing. So we thought it could be the perfect symbol of our design.
We started with the idea of suggesting the shelters in a minimalistical way. We had thought from the beginning that they should be placed side by side in a way that they could each be viewed and used separately, but that they should all exist together under one roof. This naturally brought us to a circular arrangement. When we added the roof to the first sketch, we had to think of this one. The connection between waiting and refuge became really clear to us at that moment. A shelter is always visited temporarily. The goal is always to leave it in order to move on in some direction. It is an active experience of time, regardless of whether this is viewed negatively or even positively. It's a kind of transit space, a transitional moment in the state of waiting. And this icon is a well-known icon that always forces you to wait. And on top, we like the idea that you use digital devices while waiting for the bus or for your date or anything. And often, for example, if you have a bad internet connection, it kind of doubles the waiting moment. So we got to these sketches. We tested this icon with some of our colleagues and quickly realized that this icon is usually known only to users of Apple products. This was not in line with the idea of diversity, so we continued to search for other icons that meant the same thing, and a colleague of ours brought us to the word throbber. That made our search a lot easier, because of our queries always resembled terms like annoying icon while you wait, blinking icon while you wait, turning umbrella, spinning wheel, and spinning wheel of fortune, spinning wheel of death, and so on.
So we thought, which of these different throbbers is the most appropriate?
We had different ideas, for example these ones. But we also had trouble thinking of how we can integrate the most common grayscale icon to the colorful rainbow idea. And how will the throbber be visible when you're not a bird?
So we came up with the idea that we could use the stand to create a top view that would bring both views together in one design and create an aha effect for visitors.
First, you will come to see the colored rooms. You are able to sit and enjoy the one with the color you are most attracted to, but you can also discover the upper parts of the installation.
We hope you will have fun with it, and please flood us with selfies.
And last but not least, thanks to Winter Stations, the judges and the team of Annex and everyone involved. I think we will probably be moving to Toronto soon. We seem to have a good connection. And, what do you think, Joel?
Yes.
Yes, we're moving to Toronto. Great. So, and say a big hello to all the other teams. We would really love to meet you guys. So, tschüss, 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 ciao,
ciao,
goodbye,
goodbye,
adios,
adios.
every languages, bye-bye.
You do not get this information when you're going through 400 options of submissions, and it's amazing. When we saw Throbber, it was the colors and it was the opportunities with color, it was the use of the theme refuge, the materiality was great, the visibility from the beach. So anyways, so fun. Winter Stations is doing something super fun. It's a first out, obviously never been done before situation. It's merch and we're all wearing them. So everybody that's talking today, you probably noticed we're all wearing these white sweatshirts. So I'm going to hand it over to Jeff O'Reilly from Minto Communications, who's going to tell you all about the sexy new merch.
That's great. Thanks, Tiffany. It's an exciting first for Winter Stations. And the team over here at Minto, we're super happy and excited to have played a role in starting to get this online store up and running. So thank you. Thank you. There's some great stuff there. I think Tiffany mentioned it. We all got these cool hoodies on right now. There's a lot of tote bags on there. There's lots of stuff for the kids, lots of great stuff. But it's not just great stuff. It's there for a great cause as well. All proceeds for all purchasers go to future Winter Stations and all the operations to keep this great event going. So encourage everyone in the audience to please go to winterstations.com, go to menu, and then there's a thing you can click called shop and have some fun. Happy shopping. And back to you, Councillor Bradford.
Amazing. Thanks, Jeff. Yeah, we're all rocking the Winter Stations merch, just like a rock concert. Remember those? So we've all got merch on, and I promise it will look better on you than it will on me. So get out there, get your merch, and thanks to our friends at Minto for making that happen. It's a good reminder, actually, that Winter Stations doesn't just happen. There's a lot of, blood, sweat, and energy and enthusiasm and talent that goes into it. There is also fundraising to make this happen. So it is all done via donations and sponsorship. You saw our community partners, the folks that, again, they put their time, their talent, and their treasure on the line to make this happen. And so opening it up with some really great merch is a great way to support Winter Stations, invest in community art, support the artists, and make this stuff happen every year. So that wasn't in the notes, but it was a good reminder. That's how this stuff gets done. So check it out. So let's get back to the artwork. This will be our final Winter Station, Spring Stations of the evening. And, every year our higher education partner is submissions that we're really looking forward to, and you heard again from founder Raw Architecture, Roland Rom-Koltov, off the top about how Winter Stations was really about accessibility. There's lots of architectural and design competitions around the world, but there are very, very few that have so many barriers, so few barriers to entry. And that was always important to the founders of this program, and our student submission really embodies that accessibility. And they also bring just this unbridled enthusiasm and boldness to Winter Stations year after year. So this year we're working with Sheridan College. They joined the program with a very diverse range of students, artists and designers from 20 different teams and disciplines, each with a different sort of creative style and flavor that they're bringing to the Winter Station. And again, I think what we all love as jurors and folks involved with Winter Stations, and I know the community, the student presentations and submissions always bring just a sense of hope and possibility to Winter Stations every year. So this is the outside of the box thinking that we need right now. And with that, I'd like to welcome the fantastic team from Sheridan College students to speak about their installation, Embrace. Over to you.
Hey, thanks so much. So my name is Braden Popke.
And my name is Grace M.
We'd just like to start off by saying how much of an honor it is to be part of this year's Winter Stations and how excited we are to have been given the opportunity to represent our school. Embrace is a project that was taken on and developed by our team at Sheridan, built of students from the Bachelor of Craft and Design program. It took many months of planning and building, but we're finally able to call it completed and couldn't be happier. Our general thinking behind Embrace was to find a way to mitigate the darkness rapidly spreading around us in these unprecedented times and seek refuge or comfort through one universal gesture, a hug. Of course, given the current circumstances with the global pandemic, there was no easy task and definitely made things challenging at times, but we couldn't be prouder of what we have to put forward and show you today. Whether it's through the warm and inviting colors of the interior or the sheltered feeling of Embrace itself, we hope for everyone to be able to have a unique experience in interaction with Embrace, all from a distance, of course.
As Sheridan students who have had the opportunity of taking part in the Winter Stations project, we would like to present our design, the Embrace. At Sheridan College, there is an annual interdisciplinary project which takes place to involve all the craft and design second and third year students. It is an inclusive project that gives us a chance to involve the disciplines of industrial design, furniture, glass, textiles, and ceramics into one project. This year, 20 teams were formed and a competition took place to determine which design would have the opportunity to take part in the Winter Stations experience. Embrace was the winning design chosen by the professors of our interdisciplinary project, as well as Michelle De Bruyne, who was kind enough to join us for the intro and judging of this project. The theme being refuge for this year's competition, Embrace is meant to represent a hug or the action of being embraced by a loved one. An abstract play on forms to invoke the universal desire to receive a hug that can make any of us feel protected. We view the lifeguard chair as the one who is in need of an embrace. While having the left arm wrap around the chair, the right arm extends further out as though it is inviting others to join the embrace. With a textured exterior, we display a form that acts as a shield against the prevailing winds. In contrast, the interior is smooth and colored with warm tones in order to display the warmth people initially feel when being embraced. Initially, our design was very literal, of a motherly figure embracing a child. This child was to be represented through the incorporated lifeguard chair. After many ideations, we altered the design to incorporate Michelle De Bruyne's artistic approach to be more figurative as well. The figurative design included the embracing figure as an organic form which had the arm and neck wrapping around the chair as though its job was to hide it from the world. Realizing that this form was losing the feel of a refuge-like embrace and leaning more towards a hiding place, we altered the figurative form and moved to a more abstract design that kept the idea of the embrace but lost the neck and instead included a hood. After many iterations, we chose our final design. This required a lot of refining to simplify our general approach. After modeling our final design digitally and producing a 3D model, we were able to physically interact with our final design, which allowed us the freedom to evaluate and study our current form. By doing so, we came to the conclusion that the right arm could further extend to feel more inviting to the audience. Refining the form once more digitally, we reprinted the model to get a better feel for this newfound form and included a 3D printed person to gain a greater sense of the scale. Once we were all satisfied with the overall design, we took it digitally once again, not only to look at the outside, but to get a better understanding of what our audience should feel when standing within the embrace. Mapping out the parts so they could be routed on the CNC machine, the process of fabricating the design to scale had begun. We began by cutting out the labeled ribs on 3/4 plywood. This would essentially become the skeleton of the structure. Once we finished connecting the ribs to form their correct frame, we moved on to cutting wiggle board to their final shape to serve as their exoskeleton. Once those were glued and stapled in place, with a 3/4 plywood frame, we were able to start preparing the parts to be connected to one another. After seeing how they looked laid out on the ground in their correct places, yet prior to connection, as a team we were able to fasten the center segments with the hood and raise the start of the connected structure. Once we had our center of gravity in place, we were able to raise the arms and connect them to the already raised segments. After successfully connecting the parts of our scaled model, we took it apart once more to finish applying the interior exoskeleton along with the end caps. We decided to leave the exterior white with a stucco finish to form a rough outer shell. In contrast to the warm interior, the exterior is planned to blend in with its snow-filled environment with a single shade of white. From everyone who has helped put this project together, thank you for listening to our presentation.
Well, our Sheridan students, thank you guys so much. This is absolutely beautiful. And with this incredible presentation concludes this portion of the Winter Stations evening. This is all of the art and all of the beautiful installations that is heading your way. I know that when we see all this wonderment, we get so excited, and I'm more excited. I know Brad's really excited because these incredible ideas finally get to not only come to life, but be appreciated. So now we just have to open up our calendars and know right now we don't have exact dates, but it's tentative dates for mid-May that all of these installations will be hitting the various locations that we heard about earlier in the presentation. And if you are dying to know what's going to be where, when, winterstations.com has all the information. You can also follow them on Instagram like I do. They keep you up to date with all things Winter Stations and all of their full calendar of events, which you won't want to miss. So thank you everybody for attending and watching and appreciating, supporting, and loving art. It means so much to all communities, our community, and it's what pulls us together. It's what gives us purpose. So I'm very grateful to be a part of it, and I'm grateful to all of you. Brad?
Very well said, Tiffany. That's just it, right? So when we're looking ahead to actually getting out in the distillery, we're just kind of looking at the calendar. You and I and all of our friends in a physically distant way, but you know, I'd suggest we grab some bike share, take advantage of Active TO on Lakeshore East. We'll roll down to the distillery, get up on the Martin Goodmill Trail, dock those bikes, check out all the artwork, maybe grab a coffee or something, and then head back Active TO, Queen Street, and hang out there for a bit. There are opportunities and things that come with the springtime, summertime calendar. These things are going to sparkle. They're going to be beautiful. And as the sun comes up and the days get longer, we are going to be out celebrating artwork in the East End. And, you know, I do also want to share those thoughts, thanking thanking everyone for being on the line tonight. I know that we've had a big year of Zoom, so it's not a small ask to have you here on the line. We're grateful for that. I thought actually with the throbber, I texted Tiffany that was a technical glitch, and I was going to say, oh, not a Zoom meeting without a technical glitch, but I bit right into it. So well done, Team Throbber, on that. Thanks again to all the organizers, the sponsors, the artists, the supporters, the jurors, the volunteers, everyone who makes this happen. Community-led change. It's beautiful to see. Special shout out to the team at KGA for doing all the work on the PR and comm side of this, getting the word out. Vaki, Gary, Sarah, Claire, Sarah, thank you for putting it all together. Fantastic program tonight. Tiffany and I just have to autopilot and let the artists do all the heavy lifting. It was very good. Tonight is about celebration. It's different than what we would normally do, but it was also really cool having that personal dynamic, the artists showing us where they're coming from, where they're working, the studio space. We don't normally get to see that, so that was really good. And I'm looking forward to getting that jab in the arm as soon as possible and getting back out there with all of you. So I didn't think I'd say get me back to that freezing beach, but the sentiment is there. I'm excited for Winter Spring Stations. I'm excited to see all of you again. Thanks for coming out tonight. Stay safe, take care of each other, and we'll see you at Winter Stations.
Thank you, everyone.
Woo!
Woo! Thank you, Brad.
Thanks, Tiffany.